What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Okay, let's do a little mailbag. At John Middlekauff is the Instagram. Fire in those DMs. Get your questions answered here on the show. Like Chase. Steeler fan here. With all the offensive problems the Steelers have, could it all really be fixed with the right young quarterback? Or would the Steelers' current setup only serve to stunt a young quarterback's growth? My brother's a lifelong Commanders fan, and I'm sure he would have called me crazy a year ago had I told him the right guy would have them in the NFC Championship. If the Steelers were suddenly given Jaden Daniels' talent, would they be crazy good with the current infrastructure? Yes. I think it's a long-winded way. If I give any talented team, I mean, you guys are winning 9-10 games every year with just a hodgepodge of different quarterback options, from Trubisky to Pickett to Mason Rudolph to, I guess, now Rodgers, who, if Rodgers is the quarterback, you'll probably win 9 or 10 again, too. Now, I think if Mason Rudolph's got to be your full-time quarterback and Rodgers never shows up, you'd be in trouble. If I gave you Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen or just some elite guy, you'd be fucking good. I mean, yes, you would be good. Would you win the Super Bowl? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, last year defense was playing like crap at the end of the season, but yes, it would dramatically change some stuff. Now, the AFC, especially your division, is a little harder than, some plights to get where you want to go. But I do think with a team like the Steelers, I think it would have dramatic impact. Yes. My question is, realistically, how do you think the Chargers will do? I've been a diehard fan since the Qualcomm days, and I truly believe it's one of the hardest teams to be a fan of. No Super Bowls, haven't won our division in well over a decade, and although I think Herbert is an amazing quarterback and has all the talent, the playoff performances kill him. Give a brother some hope. I'd be pretty bullish. Just look at Harbaugh's track record. He wins. So I would say I'd be pretty cocky about being a playoff team. Now, how that meshes, how we look, is going to come down to, like, does Khalil Mack give you 12 sacks? Does the rookie running back give you 1,300 yards? Or 10, I almost said 1,000 yards. 1,000 yards and like 45 catches and becomes like a complete back for you. And Najee's is a solid role player and your running game is more consistent than last year because of the injuries. I'd feel pretty good. You have a high-end coach. You have an excellent defensive coordinator. Division's hard. But I would like my chances if I were you. Remember, I picked you guys to make the playoffs last year, 4-1, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry was like, Middlekauff, you're an idiot. They're not good enough. Well, actually they are, because GM Harbaugh is. As a Bears fan who thought Nagy had all the goods to become an elite head coach play caller, knowing what we know now, Trubisky is a career backup, and the overall success Nagy had with the organization, 2 playoff appearances in 4 years. Do you think he gets another head coaching opportunity in the league? Or does he take over in Kansas City when Andy decides to retire? I think 100% he gets another shot. I mean, I'm biased here. Nagy's my guy, but I'm trying to look up how old he is. He's 47 years old. He's on the most consistent franchise with the best quarterback in the league for years now. I'd be stunned, especially if they, some of these offensive guys hit and they're a high-end offense again. Like you said, listen, the Bears, tough place to coach. And Trubisky's bad. Seems like a good guy. I saw Josh Allen, had him in his wedding. High character. And I've knew some people beside Nagy that worked at the Bears. Everyone liked him. Like people like Mitch Trubisky, the person. Bad player. No feel, no instincts, no touch. Hard to win with a guy like that. And listen, I think like a lot of people, he's going to be dependent on a good coordinator. And when he had Vic Fangio, that team was really good. in that double doink. I think 1,000% he'll get another shot. 38 years old, 3 kids under 9. Healthcare, 60. This guy's a grinder. I love football, and I love the Bills. I love winning money even more. You have mentioned some big wins on podcasts. With so many games, so many potential bets, how do you zero in on a few bets to make each week? Well, some of my biggest bets have been in golf, where you get crazier odds. So you bet $500 on someone to win 20 to 1, do the math. You're winning 10 grand. So to win a lot of money in football, you got to put a lot of money down. And I've also lost. I mean, I've had some devastating playoff losses. I think football, I really pick and choose. I would say I just whatever I believe in the most. I think the hard part is with football for me is part of gambling is obviously you follow it, you follow the numbers, and you also get a gut feel. Like I really like this team in this spot, but like I don't really get a high off betting $100. So I got to be kind of careful because I love to gamble. So I just kind of pick and choose. I mean, there's a game or two each week that I like. Same with college football. And I also, to kind of keep me involved sometimes, because I don't always feel comfortable, just betting thousands of dollars. Football's, I mean, it can be fucking easy to lose. I do a lot of parlays. That's where I can bet $50, $100, and be entertained for the day. So I can take 3 teams or definitely like 3 guys to score a touchdown. That's one thing I started doing last year. I think there was one parlay I hit with a player prop that was like $150 and paid like $7,500. It was like, I forget, like 3 or 4 guys to score touchdowns and Jamar Chase to score 2, and it was a Monday Night Football game, and Jamar Chase had 2 touchdowns. It was incredible. So I kind of do that sometimes more than do super aggressive bets on football games. Because, like, listen, you have 5 grand on the Niners in the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden they lose. It sucks. I've learned my lesson. Don't bet against the Chiefs unless they're playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year, which I didn't touch. Uh, I just bet a lot on golf because of odds. I mean, because I can bet a guy top 10 or top 20, he's like 4 to 1 odds. Where in football, to get plus 350, I mean, that is a massive underdog. The NBA Finals are here, and this is your last chance to bet on the NBA until next season. And the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make it a finals to remember. One team will be crowned the champ, and the other will be lost to history. Who you got winning it all? Obviously, everyone's picking the Thunder. Not going to lie, don't hate dabbling a little on the Pacers. 5 to 1 to win the series. It's the NBA Finals. They just destroy the 1 seed, the Cavs, work the Knicks. I think people are sleeping on the Pacers a little bit. I get the Thunder are good, but I think people are underrating the Pacers. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Who you got carrying their team to the chip? Try placing a bet on your personal MVP to drop 30, 40, or 50. I would expect, obviously, Shea, but definitely Halliburton to have some big games. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Lock in your bets and finish the season as a winner. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers, bet $5, win $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Don't miss your last chance to bet on the NBA season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Dear John, this is Jocko, not the famous podcaster. My question relates to podcasting and commentating on the NFL. Do you think the podcasting pipeline will eventually lead to commentating? People like Edelman, Taylor Lewan, and Kelsey would be great. They could bring new, fresh ideas to the table and help commenting grow. Do you think it would go if offered big bucks? Well, let's use Kelsey as an example. He does do Thursday Night Football on the panel, right? Or I guess he's on Monday Night Football. So he travels, but it's a little less work to do the pre and post game show than it would be to call the game. Like there's a lot of pressure there. let's use Luan as a better example. I'm with you. I think he'd be good. Big personality, players like him, coaches like him, just easy hang. Edelman, same thing. Those guys are making a lot of money. I mean, Taylor's making huge money now that FanDuel bought his podcast. Same thing with Will Compton. I think Will Compton would be good. You don't always just need to be a huge famous name, but it's like I want to travel every single week to a different game. And most of these guys aren't flying. Like I got to go to the airport, like travel like me and you. So it's tough. I mean, for Tony Romo and Tom Brady, traveling sucks, but it's a lot easier in the PJ. Yeah, you ain't waiting in the Southwest line, B32, right? Hey, are you B31 or B33? Right? They fucking just go to the airport, take off, come home after the game. So I think it's hard. Back to the Frank Ragnow thing, retiring. These guys made big money. So to get me, these guys have young kids to fly around. Like you can make a really good living podcasting. You don't have to go anywhere. I mean, hell, I'm seeking office space. I could do this from home forever. Not that I will never not have a home office, but it's like I do need to get out of the house. So I've been looking around for office space because I got to mix shit up. My question, my little brother is getting recruited by some big programs like Florida, Indiana, Kentucky. My question is, what do you think big time recruits should be looking at when choosing a school? I feel like stability and opportunity are the biggest things, but is there anything else vital that you think we should be considering? Also, tell me the episode. I would say this: the thought of what matters and what doesn't matter has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. Because one, you could be like choose the school, choose a program that you're comfortable with, a coaching staff that you're comfortable with. We know it's all kind of BS, right? Unless you're going to play for like Kirby Smart. The schools you just listed, Florida, if their coach doesn't win, he's going to get fired. I mean, Indiana, I know they had a great season last year, but they're going to be at a huge disadvantage on a yearly basis to Penn State, to Ohio State, to Michigan, to Oregon. Uh, Kentucky, impressive school. I mean, Mark Stoops, long term contract. So it's like that. That's a good example. A guy is probably going to be there for a little while. But these coaches can all leave, and your coordinator and position coaches can all leave. You know, most guys make these decisions now based on money. If things don't go well, you can change schools. So, like I said, I'm always a huge believer in gut. You can only go off who's recruiting you, and if they are recruiting you, like how much are they paying, and what are they telling you? Because regardless of what they're telling you, like that changes once you get there. Unless you're like a can't miss top 10 recruit, whatever they're telling you is kind of a lie. There's no guarantee you'll start. There's no guarantee you'll play. Hell, you have to fight for your money potentially, even with NIL. So I think I don't think you can ever go wrong playing in the SEC because if you do break into the starting lineup in the SEC, you are on a direct path to the NFL at Florida or Kentucky. That's for sure. So I would say, and Indiana's obviously in the Big Ten. I mean, these are the best two conferences in the country. So playing in that conference at that level, you're closer to the NFL than most college football players. It also means it's really hard to get on the field because they have a bunch of NFL guys that you have to pass. So it's going to be difficult no matter where you want to go. My advice would be this is it's one thing if the coach tells you we don't want you here anymore, so you transfer. I think too many guys transfer too fast. Like, let this settle. Like, you're going to leave Florida for, I'm just going to pick a school like Kansas State. No shade to Kansas State. Impressive program. My point is, like, what if in like a year you would have been starting at Florida? You know, I think too many guys are just too quick to leave because they're not playing. Like, historically, most guys don't play right away. Most guys are not like Reggie Bush. You know, it's pretty difficult to go from high school to Florida and play. So it might take a couple of years. And if the coach wants you, I'd stay. So my advice would be go SEC. I would have no problem going to the Big Ten, but I would go to Florida over Indiana. If Mike Tomlin gets fired next year, who would the next best candidate be? Secondly, I saw your take on Tom Hardy. I agree to a degree. However, I highly recommend Peaky Blinders. I think I said that Tom Hardy was pretty overrated. And then I actually retracted that. You might have missed the podcast because I watched Mobland. Still have the finale to go. But he's good in that. He's entertaining. Maybe I was too harsh on him. He is talented. I do maybe I was just trying to go against the grain to go against the grain. I thought the move would have been this year. Trade Mike Tomlin and go get Ben Johnson. Like it was handed there on a silver platter. So I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. Or even Mike Vrabel. But they didn't want to do that. So the Tomlin fired conversation, unless they have like a historically bad season, I'm just done talking about because they're not going to fire him. He's going to be their coach forever. Maybe till he's like 80 at this rate. The NFC North feels wide open. The Vikings have a rookie quarterback, known more for handing off. Detroit lost both its coordinators. Could we see an Eagles-style fall-off? The Packers have had a 25-year-old quarterback, but we still don't really know if he's the guy. And with a brutal schedule ahead, the whole division, I'm curious, who do you think regresses the most? I was actually thinking about this the other day. Division's obviously very talented. I mean, the rosters are stacked. The teams are a lot of talent. But sneaky some question marks for really, like, there are way less question marks with, like, the one thing you know is if Joe Burrow's your quarterback, if the coach can just start a little faster, they're going to win 10 games. And obviously the Ravens are a pretty dominant team. And the Steelers, they got some issues, but if Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, they're probably just going to be floating around at 9-ish wins, right? Someone has to lose in the NFC North, right? Not everyone can win 10 to 14 games. Someone's going to have like 7 or 8 wins. The Bears, first-time head coach, and, you know, a quarterback that has some scars from last year. Like you said, the Vikings, their quarterback, we'll see. Is he good enough? I don't know. The Lions just lost their center, lost their 2 coordinators. It's just, that's a lot, right? I mean, it really is. And the Packers, I mean, there's just some pressure on Jordan Love. Like 2 years ago, the last 8 games, like, is that actually who you are, or what do we got going on? You convinced me that I think it'd be a little shocking if the Bears won the division, but you could convince me the other 3 teams win the division. As of June 3rd, I'm probably going to pick the Packers, but don't feel great about it. But you could give me any combination. Be like, Packers, Bears make the playoffs. It'd be hard. I mean, it'd be pretty crazy if the Lions didn't make the playoffs, given how good they were. But I could definitely see them take a step back from 15 wins. If you tell me they win 10 or 11, that might be more realistic. Seahawks fans, specifically, question on Sam Darnold. I'm not super high on Darnold, but you have to give the guy some credit for his play last season, or at least you would think. It seems the general consensus is that Darnold will be below average quarterback this year after putting up top 10 stats. If we revitalize our establish the run mentality, I'm actually inclined to think he's in a decent position to succeed. How do you think the season plays out? I saw that he threw a couple interceptions in practice, and then McDonald had gone to do a radio interview with the local radio station, and they asked him, like, what are the scenarios in which Sam Darnold could get benched? And Mike was like, kind of, I don't want to say lost it, but in fairness, was like, what are we talking about? This is insane. Guy's our quarterback. It just shows you, like, when you bounce around it wasn't his choice. Like, the Vikings didn't want him back. So there's a difference of, like, LeBron chooses to and Kevin Durant and all these guys, like, choose to be mercenaries. And some guys, like Kirk Cousins, the Vikings didn't want him anymore. Sam Darnold, the Vikings didn't want him anymore. Like, he didn't choose to be a mercenary. He just didn't have a choice. But when that is your route, whether you choose or you don't choose, if things don't go well, it's like you don't have the equity with that franchise. So there's pressure. Like, this team, they have been, if you just ask the casual fan, like, how have the Seahawks been the last 3 years? I think most people would be like, oh, yeah, Pete Carroll got fired. Last year they missed the playoffs. I think they went 9-9-10. Like, I'm pretty sure Seattle, the last 3 years, has had better seasons than people realize. I think most people would say, like, yeah, like 7-10. So the last 3 years, 9-8, 9-8, 10-7. So he's not coming to a team that's like, oh yeah, they've win like 5-6 games. I mean, they're averaging a little over 9 wins a season for the last 3 years. Think about it. How many teams? What would the New York Giants and Brian Daboll do to be like, yeah, our last 3 seasons, we've won 28 games? How about you? Right? Obviously, you'd rather be the Chiefs or the Ravens or whatever, but 28 wins in 3 seasons, like, not bad. Do 28 divided by three. It's over nine. Last year you missed the playoffs, you win 10 games. Not bad. But to me, that adds pressure on them, which I'd have to study the depth chart. You lose DK, who it felt like they were kind of over. Cut Lockett. Um, it's gonna be interesting. I think they're gonna be solid, but that ending to Darnold's season did not go well. I'm currently in the process of making the biggest decision of my life. Jesus. That being choosing my college major. I know you're young and it feels that way, but I promise you it's not. I'm stuck as I want to pursue a career in sports and major in sports management, but I have everyone around me, including my family, telling me that's not the smart thing to do and that the major is pointless. I have already built a small following on TikTok, but I'm lost. Is a sports management major truly pointless? What do I do? So I take it you're not in college, you're trying to get to college and you have to apply to different majors, or you're already in college and you have a major and trying to switch. I would say this: my undergrad major at Cal Poly was ag business. Let me repeat that: ag business. Now, granted, it was essentially a business degree because I took a bunch of classes in the business department. But like, I'm pretty sure on my diploma, wherever that is in the closet, it says from the School of Agriculture. And my master's degree at Fresno State when I was a GA is in sports business. I promise you this: those two pieces of paper and those two titles mean absolutely nothing for the course of my career. If I would be sitting here, if I was an art history major, if I was a business major, it did not impact where I got in this world in terms of sports. So I would say sports is a field, unlike being a doctor, a lawyer, an architect, where the major is not as important. So if you want to pursue a career in sports while you're in college, sports management, it depends on your school. Maybe they have some connections, but I truly don't believe it matters. I think that you could do, I would say you're better off with just a degree, if this is possible, have a business degree than and pursue something in sports than have a sports management degree. I don't think you're any more likely to make progress because of the sports business degree. Again, depending on the school, maybe there are different examples. Uh, but I truly believe this, that I don't think it matters. Now, I also think the people telling you that it's worthless, like, are they just coming from a position that they think it's a stupid major? The classes I took at Fresno State with a graduate degree in quote unquote sports management were pretty pointless. Now that was 2008 and 2009. That was a long time ago. So maybe it's changed, but I don't know. If you had total power to make changes to the NBA to boost popularity, what changes would you put in place? Uh, well, I just don't think you can change the load management stuff. Clearly, it's pointless to talk about reducing the amount of games. I think I heard Windhorse say this, and he's right. Basketball is actually much closer to baseball than it is football. It's an inventory and a quantity sport more than like an impact quality sport on a weekly basis. Like, they make their huge money because they have so many games. And sometimes Maria looked at me the other day when I turned on the Knicks game. She's like, "God, still playing basketball?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're not even to the finals yet. They stretch out these playoffs for a long time." Basketball, in my experience, and it's crazy. I saw who put this out. If there was a game seven at Madison Square Garden, the going rates for different prices, I think to sit on the floor was, like, I forget the number. It was huge. But even the get in price was thousands of dollars. Uh, this was probably like 2002, but I remember being in high school. It might have been the first, could have been the second round. Now, it was the last row at Arco Arena where the Kings played. Me and my buddy EG went to a Mavericks playoff game. Remember, we got a little little stoned. I think we hit it. We brought an apple with us, and I don't even know if kids need to do that anymore. But back in my day, you had to get weed and like from a dealer behind a McDonald's or a Burger King. Now you just press an app and they come to your front door and you give them a credit card. But we paid $20 a ticket, $40 for two tickets. Again, times have changed, but basketball is always going to be dependent on the stars. It's like this combination of it's like football where it's a team game. That's why I always push back when people go, the league's never been more talented. It's not an individual sport, guys. This is teams. So, yeah, there might be more talent than the 90s, but you can't convince me that the teams in the 90s, I don't know, when they played together for a decade plus, were not better. Obviously, you change a little bit of your roster, but basketball, a lot like football, is very dependent on chemistry. The longer you play with someone, the better you are. Think Steph and Draymond just showed up playing like that together? No, they've been playing together for 15 years. Steph, Clay, and Draymond. It's a huge advantage for them. And I think you're just dependent on the stars. So I think people push back of like, they keep riding Steph Curry and LeBron James. Well, hard to blame them. Those guys are dramatically more famous than all these other stars. And there is an element, my guy Ethan Strauss has been writing about this for a long time. One thing football does not have to battle is all their star players are always going to be from America. And really, beside Jordan Mailata, all their star players and high-end players, especially at quarterback, play college football. And most of them, like even if you don't go to a quote-unquote true powerhouse, like Texas Tech's a Power Four conference. Josh Allen's a little bit of an outlier. Lamar played at Louisville. Joe Burrow played at LSU and Ohio State. Baker Mayfield played at Oklahoma. Kyler Murray played at Oklahoma. Jared Goff played at Cal, which used to be better than it is now. But you know what I mean? Like these guys play at real schools. In the NBA, like Giannis didn't play in college, not from America. Jokic did not play in college, not from America. Luka, not from America. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I grew up, the NBA couldn't have been much bigger. Michael Jordan is like on the Mount Rushmore of superstar athletes. You could say he's number one, the most marketable athlete in the history of America. And then that just kind of rolled into Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, and Curry. They're just all-time marketable athletes. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is never going to be that. He has no chance to ever be that. Zero chance. I honestly feel that the players aren't even nearly as famous as they used to be. I know people always say that like NBA players are so much more famous. I feel they're not nearly as famous as like guys when I was growing up. The star players in the NBA felt like they were bigger culturally. Like Charles Barkley, Gary Payton, obviously Bird, Magic, and Michael, but even the next crew of guys. So I just think, David Stern was great at this. I think he's the best commissioner of my life, any sport. Because I think what he had to do is harder than what Roger had to do. And I think I'd put Roger second. But he understood the power of stars. And I don't think it's not all Adam's fault. I mean, the better players are coming internationally. It's a problem. I mean, if Cooper Flagg could be a star, it'd be awesome. The WNBA is big, not because there's some resurgence in women's basketball. It's because of Caitlin fucking Clark. That she's just an all-time outlier. And I saw some quotes from the WNBA commissioner, like she won't even embrace them. Like, I'm shorting you. I would fire you. If I was Adam and I'm subsidizing that league, I would fire that woman. I would have to replace her because she's not going to be good enough. You have this opportunity. Who knows how long it's going to be? We see with Caitlin Hurt, ratings start dropping. So you're just only as strong as your stars. And most individual sports, all individual sports are like that, right? Tennis, golf, racing. Team sports can be a little bit different, but basketball is not. Basketball is a team game driven by their individual stars. And right now, the two biggest stars in the NBA by a mile are old. So you're not going to have them forever. Last question. What is your viewing experience? So I don't have a good answer there. Because I think that even Luka probably has a good chance because he's with the Lakers. But I just feel like their appeal is just going to be different than American stars. What is your viewing experience like for guys like you and Colin to digest these games for a living? On Sundays in the fall, are you able to have a cocktail and enjoy the games? Is it sobering day at the office or something in between? Bonus questions. Do you use any apps to help track stats, gather information, than betting apps and ESPN? Yeah, I would say, listen, I watch football for a living. So there's a difference of being at the office and working hard or being outside and digging ditches. It is, in terms of taxing physically and even emotionally, it ain't that crazy. Emotionally, now, if you got a lot of money on a game you're losing, it can ruin your day. But yeah, I mean, I take the day pretty seriously. I would say definitely as I've gotten older in my 30s, like I'm not doing anything on Saturday night. I'm definitely not being hungover. I was hungover once last year because it was my 40th birthday and it was miserable. It was miserable. And I was like, I can't do this ever again. So I just say Sunday is just, I just approach it. I mean, I try to get up at like 7 or 8. I go to the gym, try to be home, especially, Arizona's Pacific Standard Time and then it goes to Mountain Time. I kind of like the Mountain Time because at 11 o'clock, first kickoff, but I try to be in my office dressed, ready to go, cup of coffee, and have all my TVs on, kickoff 10 a.m. and then dialed till I do with Colin after the second games, and then watch the Sunday night game while I have dinner, come into my office in the fourth quarter, and do my own show after that. And obviously, Monday night and Thursday night football are built around watching the games and doing the podcast as well. So, yeah, just like anyone, I mean, I take this shit seriously. I don't want to lose this. Like, I also am not dumb enough to know like I get to do this for a job. So I'm able to like pay the mortgage, right? So I take this stuff very, very seriously. Now, there's also like I'm also talking for a living, so I can't just be a stiff about it. But in terms of when I watch it, um, yeah, I can't I just can't function. And you guys can relate to this depending on how old you are. As you get older, the hangovers they just get worse and worse. And I just can't have that feeling of because I need my brain to work, right? I mean, there are some jobs like if I'm just typing in stuff and I don't need my brain to work, I technically could be hungover. But like if I got to do multiple podcasts on a Sunday, I just can't. I can't afford to be hungover because I can't do that anymore at 40 years old. I was able to pull it off a decade ago, no problem actually. Now it's honestly I have a couple drinks now in the next day's a work day, I kind of like just slows me down enough that I don't like that feeling at all. So I've been in football long enough to, I mean, it's all I've ever done in my professional life, from college football to pro football to then doing this for a living and going to a lot of games and radio and then obviously doing podcasts on Sunday. Like I'm not a big drinker on Sundays. So I've never in my adult life drank on Sundays. So yeah, no cocktails really, which now that I say it out loud, it kind of like sounds kind of sad. So you just got to get your cocktails in on other days, I guess. Tito's, soda, maybe a little splash of lime.